Hello, everybody. This is Mike Felbar from the Flagler County Drug Court Foundation, coming to you today from the Flagler Voice podcast studio here in Palm Coast. Today, I have a very special guest with me. What we've been doing lately on the Flagler County Drug Court Foundation is thanking those who have been supporting us. And today, I have in the studio David Moon from Innovative Financial Solutions that were our presenting sponsor at our recent golf tournament fundraiser, and it was really great to have them with us. I know David from a couple of networking groups that we meet with and got to know him a little bit more before he did that and before his company agreed to do it. So now what I want to do is introduce you to David. You are on the air. How are you today?
I am doing great, except I am a little tired because I have a 6-month-old daughter. And actually, I shouldn't blame her, but it's a typical situation where I wake up at 3 a.m, really without her help. And normally I go right back to bed, but last night it was one of those nights. Maybe I was too excited about coming onto this podcast, you know?
Oh, wait a minute. Is Pinocchio around? But I understand what you go through. Now, my daughter's 42 years old, so I don't go through that now, but I can remember when she was just a baby, and we made a deal with my wife and I on who'd go what at what time. So I did the last before she went to sleep. My wife would maybe do the middle when she would get, and then I would do the first one in the morning.
Okay.
So we do that to take care, and that's the way that it went. And when she was just, this big, okay, she slept in a little pin thing right next to me and outside the bed, but right in her own, and so I was right there. And what I got to do after a while, David, is I just picked her up and put her right here. She'd go back to sleep, and so would I.
Yeah. Well, big shout out to my wife because she really takes the night duty most of the time, and I don't know how she does it because I go one night with a little sleep, and I'm like, So she's a hero. Thank you, honey.
Yeah, I can tell you, David, because I'm at that age where you don't sleep as much as you used to, though you'd like to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think back, I said she was just preparing me back then when she was just a couple months old for what was going to go on, 40 some odd years later. And so, I'm up early almost every day, and I want to go back to bed and go back to sleep. But just at that point in time, anywhere from 5 o'clock on in the morning, it's just too late to do it again because then you got stuff that's coming on early, coming on. So, but that's it. So basically, what we're here to do to talk, and so everybody out there will understand. First, I want to talk to you a little bit about who the Flagler County Drug Court Foundation is, and then you maybe get a better understanding and thankfulness for we have people like David and his company that are helping us and get to where we go. The Flagler County Drug Court Foundation is dedicated to help people in recovery. Recovery from what? Recovery from drugs and alcohol. We deal mostly in individuals that are in the Flagler County Drug Court program and help them with things that the court can't do for them. We eliminate some of the pressures that are on them so they can concentrate on their recovery. We do auto repairs. We help them with getting their GED, education, job training, all kinds of little stuff that come up and down all throughout the year. And hopefully we're able to help them out in a way that they can continue to work on the recovery and focus on that, not on the incidentals of life that come to all of us all the time. So we have a couple of fundraisers every year to help do it because we are a nonprofit. We are a 100% volunteer organization, and we need help both from people coming in to help them with their skills to help us with what we do. And David, we'll talk a little bit about what David's offered to do for that in the future too. And help them with all kinds of little stuff. And it's so important that we do that. And the only way we can do it is from contributions. And we do typically two fundraisers a year. One, the spring one, which we just completed, is our golf tournament. And we've been doing that now for 3 years. And it's getting better and better every year. And then we have what we call a Ride for Recovery, which happens this year. Is going to be November 1st. And that concentrates on motorcycles, Jeeps, four-wheelers. This year, There'll be a Bronco in the ride from Ford. Um, so those kinds of things. We have some fun. We reach out to different members of the community to try to educate them at the same time what's going on in the world of recovery in Flagler County. So those are the kinds of things that we do. And as we're looking for additional help and talking to people in different businesses, David and I got in a discussion one day, and he said he can plan on coming and talk to a group and talk about financial planning, the things that are important, that a lot of us, never mind those that are in the world of recovery, really have little knowledge of what we should be doing and planning for the life that I'm currently now living in. Okay. So, David, talk a little bit about what kinds of things that you do and what does Innovative Financial Solutions do?
At the simplest terms I can come up with, we help clients grow and manage their wealth, right? So what does that mean? That means a lot of investment planning. For a lot of clients, that's retirement income planning. For some of our older clients, that's estate planning. And some of our younger clients, it's challenging them to be great savers and putting their money into positions that are going to work for them, right? People work hard for their money. Not everyone's money works hard for them. And at the end of the day, if you can just get some basic principles across to some folks. So when you talk about the Flagler County Drug Court's classroom education, life skills training, forget about, like you said, nobody gets a financial education coming through school, right? Unless you go to college or you seek it out, you're not going to get it. And so some of the very, very basics can be taught to the Flagler County Drug Court class that comes through. And some of that might be quite a bit more basic, right? So why is it important to have a bank account? Why is credit important? Why is balancing a checkbook important, right? So, and I gotta admit, I don't balance a checkbook like my mom balanced a checkbook, right? Or still does. Mm-hmm. But you go through, the short version is you cannot spend money you do not have, right? And a lot in this society with the plastic credit cards and everything online, it's easy to have things out of sight, out of mind, and you're not tracking what you spend, right? So it's easy to kind of spiral out of control.
I think you're 100% on traffic. And I'll go back into my early school years when I was very little in the schools that I grew up in. And the local bank, what we would call a hometown bank, had a program where we brought money into school every week, whether it was 25 cents, whatever it was, and that ended up starting our savings account. And they would teach us what the benefits of those were. Mm-hmm. And then as we grew and got older, then we got into our schools did have programs on checking accounts and things like that you could take the basic life skills that we don't see any longer being taught. So what you're talking about is extremely important today. And what I've heard you speak about, it's mind-blowing for the average person that doesn't understand it. You talked about the advantages of, let's say, a young person just gets out of school and starts working. Okay, let's say they're 18 to 21, and they would then start a savings program of X, and what that would equate to without doing any real fancy stuff as they get on today. So talk a little bit about that.
So funny because earlier today, one of our clients said, "Hey, can I bring my grandson in? He's 14, but I want him to understand what we're doing and how it grows for him." Mm-hmm. And so these grandparents were very nice, and they've funded an account for their grandson with $6,000.
Whoa.
Okay. And but at 14 years old, I said, okay, let's go through the rule of 72. For anyone who doesn't know the rule of 72, you should look it up on YouTube and it will give you better illustrations than I can speak to right now. But you take 72, you divide it by an assumed interest rate, and that's the number. The answer is the number of years it takes for your money to double. So they started this fund actually with $4,000. Well, they've added 1,000. The total contributions into the fund is $4,000 over the past 5 years. The fund is returning 14% per year. Okay. I said to them, just about, okay. I said to the grandson, I said, let's just make it easy, and let's just assume this is an all stock focused portfolio, and let's just say it grows 10% per year on average for until your retirement age. So he's 14 years old. So you go through the rule of 72. That 6,000 when he's so 7 years, that money's doubling. So 6,000 becomes 12,000 when he's 21. 12,000 becomes 20, or when he's 28, that 12,000 becomes 24,000. When he's 35, that 24,000 becomes 48,000. When he's 42, that's now $96,000. Now 49, he's up to $182 or $192,000.
Whoa.
Now, this is where it gets fun, because he's only 49. If he holds on till he's 56, that $192,000 is now $384,000. Now, if he holds on another 7 years, you're up over $750,000. You know, so that's an extreme case, because what does he have on his side? He has time. He's only 14 years old.
Right.
And he has grandparents that love him and understand that if they can teach him some of these lessons by putting this together, that he might become a great saver. He might invest sooner than he may otherwise, right? He's 14 years old. So it's super exciting for me when clients say, hey, can you talk to my grandkids?
Yeah.
Because it's like, yes, like if you can instill these lessons in them, oh man, it goes so far. But otherwise, unless you're seeking it out, you're not getting that. So, and it's really hard to understand the power of compounding money until you actually illustrate it, right? So you go 7 years, every 7 years, man, I'm just a young person. And that's not adding any additional money into that, right? So it's for young folks, if you're listening and you're young, and if you can just get as much saved as possible into great investments, it can go a long way, and just don't touch it.
That's the hard part, I think.
Yeah.
That don't touch part.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I remember there was I teach a budgeting class. I'm not the best in the world, but at least I got good stuff to work with. And teaching how people just to save a little bit, how to get them started. Like, put $1 in week 1, then you got $1. In week 2, put $2 in, then you got $3. At the end of 52 weeks, you got about just under $1,400 saved.
Mm-hmm.
You could take that money, put it into things that you're talking about. And as obviously, the earlier you do it, the more benefit in the long run. But it's never too late, is it?
No, it isn't. I mean, time, when it comes to investing, time is always your best asset.
Right.
Really. But it is never too late. At the end of the day, you have a few options.
Mm-hmm.
To put it simply, you can take your money and you can leave it in the bank. Now, depending on the bank, if you actually put it in a savings account or money market savings account or CD, you get a fairly decent return. But that can change, right?
Right.
So a year from now, who knows what that looks like? And for the previous, decade before 2022, you really weren't getting anything with your money in the bank. But you can put your money there. And what's the bank doing with that money? Well, they're taking that money on deposit. They're now leveraging their portfolio so that they can lend out more money at a rate of whatever the prevailing interest rate is. So right now, maybe 7%, and they're passing on a little bit of earnings to you, hopefully. You can buy bonds, which are, I guess I don't want to get too into the weeds here, but if essentially you give your money to a company or a government entity in exchange for a promise for that entity to pay an interest coupon to you. So every 6 months, this bond promises to pay X dollars. That turns into what you would call a yield. Okay, so what's the yield on that bond? And at the end of the bond term, that company or that governmental entity promises to give you your principal back. Okay, so you can do that. You can put your money into real estate. And so when we think about real estate, we don't think that personal real estate, so real estate or property that's used for personal purposes is not an investment, that's an expense. So you pay property taxes, you pay insurance, you pay for repairs and maintenance. And most of the time you're paying the bank because you took a mortgage out to own that property. So when we talk about real estate as an investment, we talk about real estate or property that pays you. Okay, so that's when you think about in real estate investing, it needs to be cash flow producing. And then the last most basic way to explain this is you can also become an owner of a company by buying shares of stocks, right? So everybody has access to the public market. So publicly traded companies, some of the biggest companies in the world, you can go and buy, right? And it's very accessible. That's not a recommendation to do that, but you can become an owner of a company with your money instead.
So what I hear too is the things that you and your company does is you'll sit down with an individual. You'll get to know where they are, what their goals are. You'll look at all these things and give them advice that they can either accept or reject, and how they can save money, earn money, and plan. Your big thing is plan for the future.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what Innovative Financial Solutions basically does. Am I right?
We help clients grow and manage their wealth. That's what it is. Yeah. And how do we do that? At the end of the day, we provide great advice, and it's personalized. There is no one size fits all because everybody has a different journey to how they got to us. And money means different things to different people. And so everyone's different. That's one of the things I love about my position is that you meet so many great people. And everyone's a different challenge. Everyone's a different puzzle because money means something differently to them. So every day is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're coming to a close, believe it or not.
Wow.
That 15 minutes that you were concerned about a little earlier today is now, well, we're up to 19, almost 19 and a half, almost 20 minutes.
Jeez.
So before we close up, let the people know how they can reach you. Is there a phone number or an email or whatever? What's the best way to reach out to David Moon and Innovative Financial Solutions to get that first introductory meeting?
So yeah, you can give us a call. Melanie one of our teammates will be happy to get you scheduled. So 386-597-2856. you can check out our website. It's www.ioms.com. By the way, one of my younger clients gave me some flack about saying the www first. He's like, that doesn't do anything. I said, oh my God, am I like too old right now? I got this kid telling me that I don't need to say that anymore. But yeah, you can check out the website.
You have to say that for guys like me.
Yeah.
Okay? You have to understand your clientele goes from X to Z, A to Z, and so you got to talk a language that's good for everybody.
Yeah.
So again, I want to thank you, David, and thank your company for what they've done for us and the information that you've provided to our audience today. And God bless you. God bless your company. And thank you very much.
It's our
have
pleasure.
a great day.
Thank you.